What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Now, a lot of people are getting excited because Bitcoin has put in this green candle right here, and it looks like we are finally potentially trying to break out of this pattern. However, as you know, it is a 3-day weekend for most in the US. It is a holiday today, so should we just be treating this like a weekend move, or is this a hint of what's to come? Because if we actually have a look at what the S&P was doing, the S&P did pump very nicely into Friday, whereas Bitcoin really didn't do anything. So is this just Bitcoin actually starting to catch up potentially? That is what I want to talk about today, guys. So should we actually finally be anticipating a multi-week rally for Bitcoin, even if we are in a bear trend? And the other thing, again, is are we in a true crypto winter, or is it actually just a giant mid-cycle correction? A lot of people would be saying, no, full-on bear market right now, but we need to look at something because there are indicators that are absolutely screaming for a Bitcoin bounce, and one specifically that I've mentioned on the channel before, but we've never looked at it this way, and when you flip it, it actually provides some incredible data that we have to go over today, because it is pretty interesting when you look at these periods of previous bear sort of momentums, I guess you want to say, for Bitcoin, where we go in these movements, and I have to say that it is very interesting to see where we're heading right now. So we have got to talk about this today. And also, I do want to discuss the fact that everyone's saying, well, the Fed is just going to keep on tightening. Well, this is also why something could potentially break within the next 3 months. Lots of cool stuff to go over today. It is a holiday. I'll keep this video a little bit shorter, but you're going to want to stick around. I think you're going to enjoy this information. So if you're new to the channel, well, slap a like, get subscribed, stick around. We do this for the most part almost every single day, generally when there's things to talk about, but let's dive in. Let's have a look. So we did see right here that we are having, this breakout of this pattern. But the thing is if you actually zoom in, right, and you have a look at what we're doing, even though, yes, we did have this pattern, if you take out these trend lines, I do have this blue zone, and you can see that we're really just bouncing in this blue area, right? Okay, so we have a little bit of fake out up here, right? A little bit of fake out down here. But ultimately, guys, we're just staying in this area. And even though we did get pulled down by this trend line, this resistance, you can actually see that once we broke it, look at where we're hanging out right now, right, guys? So I do want you to be cautious leading into tomorrow. Now, this could be amazing for Bitcoin, right? But remember, when you are looking to, especially if you're going to be trading Bitcoin, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you actually confirm these breakouts. So the fact that we tried to break out of this level right here, you'd actually want to see us come up to maybe something like 31, which would be actually 31,400 is our next level. And then we come up here, we retest this, right? We retest this resistance as support, and then we continue to the upside. If we see that in the next few days, then I am honestly going to say that we are going towards some of those targets that I spoke about. 31,000, 33,000, the next one 35, and the biggest one right here, the biggest one, and this is where I think we're really going to run into that resistance, is right here on this upward sloping trend that was holding us. And you could see right here, if we take this from bottom to top, that brings Bitcoin to $37,300. And I still think that that is in fact a possibility. Now, once we get up to those levels, we will start discussing it, right? But as I did say, we did see stocks performing better than Bitcoin leading into the weekend. And actually, if you're looking at the stocks right now compared to the futures, stocks ended at the S&P 4158. And we have 4180 on the futures. So right now, traders are anticipating that stocks are going to open green tomorrow. Will that happen? I don't know. But if it does, it could be good news for Bitcoin, since Bitcoin has finally started to catch up, right? We will have a CME futures gap, of course. But once again, having a look right here, look at what we're doing, guys. Look at this daily chart. I got it off the 4-hour, and you could see, look at how much these candles are really just staying in this area right here, right? You could see we were really not leaving this blue zone. So even though today is a little bit exciting, like I said, I do just want us to take it with a bit of caution, because it is technically still a weekend type of a day. It's a holiday, right? But that being said, guys, let's actually zoom out for a minute. We're looking at the 4-hour chart, the daily chart. Really, everything that we're getting crazy over is just this little cluster, these little cluster of candles right here. Let's zoom out and see what we're doing. What we are doing ultimately is this trend line. And remember, I do consider this to be an outlier. This is a black swan event down here because this was the COVID crash, right? So if we take this out of the equation, right, just scribble this out of the picture, Bitcoin was putting in some very, very, very nice support. Look at this, right? 1 bounce, 2 bounce, 3 bounces, right? And if we follow that up, look what we did, guys. We had a perfect bounce right there. So that's number one. Number two, if we follow this right here, we're actually bouncing off of the legacy support at around 28,600. And you can see, boom, we came down, fake out, and now we're starting to move to the upside. So there is that potential that we could eventually, and I'm not saying it could happen in a straight line, we're going to bounce around, but we could be finding our way somewhere back up at least to meet this area as that resistance, right? Flip support. And obviously there's some other areas as well. I mean, one area we can also look at is sort of right around here, right around that $41,200 level. You can see there was a lot of interest there. So maybe we don't get all the way up to that sloping trend, but I still do think we're going to be seeing a move up. Now, interestingly enough, you can see that the RSI right here is incredibly oversold on the monthly. In fact, this RSI down here is actually lower than we were sitting at the COVID crash. And the COVID crash, you could see from top to bottom, that was a 62% crash in just a matter, 2 monthly candles, but it was a lot faster than that when it was happening, right? So this is definitely screaming for a bounce. Now, the other thing we need to talk about, and we've talked about the 21 exponential on the weekly, but what about the 21 exponential on the monthly? We usually don't look at that, right? Why don't we look at that? Because generally, we don't really have these consolidations happening. Usually, last time we were just having a blast off move to the upside, but you could see right here that every single time we end up losing this, we do fall below it, right? Fall below it. Same thing here. However, this is really interesting. So if we look at a bigger chart, and this is what we were talking about. We were assuming, right? And you should never assume, because you know what they say about assumptions, assuming, right? You make a you-know-what out of you-know-what. And so assuming, right? Now, we shouldn't be doing that, but that this is the same level. Well, that kind of contradicts the idea of Bitcoin maturing, diminishing returns, right? It's not the same beast that it was when it was, going from $1 to $5. Now we're talking about these multi-$1,000 price swings. We're seeing bigger players get involved. We know institutions are starting to dip their toes. We are seeing companies like Tesla, like MicroStrategy, putting it on their balance sheets, 401ks, right? So here's the thing. Let's have an even longer drawn out view of this 21 exponential, and let's see exactly what happens. Now, here's the interesting thing. First time we ever fell below it was back in October of 2015. So that's right in this little cluster area right here. Let's see how long we stood under in as far as months are concerned, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 months, and on the 14th month, we actually finally got above it. And guys, look at this. As soon as we closed above this, look what we did. We went on a massive rally, right? So keep that number in your mind, 13, 14, right? Next time we go under it, right? Here it is, this area. We're holding it as support. Very, very good support, by the way. Incredible support. And then we break through. How long do we stay under? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on the 7th candle, we break out. So that's half of the amount of time that we spent under there previously, right? We went from 14 to 7, right? So now if we come over here and we have a look at what we're doing, we've fallen below it again, right? So if this does get cut in half, now we only have two sample sizes, right? So can't really, take it with a grain of salt, but then that should actually say that in about 3.5 months from now, Bitcoin should actually be revisiting this level. Now, this level right before Bitcoin fell was around 37,800. And that seems to be our goal. That's kind of our target, that $37,000 to $38,000 level. So is it possible that in the next 3.5 months, we finally get Bitcoin back above 38, not just a tap, holding above it, and could that actually be the beginning of the next cycle? Or at least this, or then you could actually say it was a mid-cycle rally in hindsight, right? Lengthening cycles. A lot of people have talked about that. So having a look right here, another thing that you notice is the double bottoms. And actually, El Crypto Professor pointed that out, right? We have a double bottom back here in 2015, and that starts the next leg up. We had this double bottom forming right here, and back in 2019, you have this. You guys can see this, right? One here, one touch here. On the parabola, we start going up again. The question is what's happening right now the next major double bottom? Because if that's the case, then that plays into exactly what we were saying about the giant M-shaped pattern, putting in that double bottom the same way that stocks did literally 2 decades ago, and history is actually, in fact, repeating itself. Now, a lot of people say, well, just because it happened before doesn't mean that it has to happen again. I understand that, but the one thing that you do need to realize is that human emotion doesn't change. It doesn't. Fear and greed, right? We go through the same cycles, and you can see these chart patterns over and over and over again. These fractals, they show up everywhere. They show up in all kinds of charts. You can literally find them anywhere. Like, just literally look in charts and you'll find these crazy double bottom fractals all over the place. So as I said, guys, ultimately, following the 600 daily, the thing that we need to break back above short term, we need to kind of close above that $38,000 level, get above the 21 exponential on the monthly, and of course, we have the 600 daily moving average, right? So that is what we need to pay attention to. Now, the other thing to note is that the DXY has been falling. So there have been a lot of people that have been saying, yeah, but listen, no, it's different this time. Stocks are going to get hammered. Stocks are going to fall 80%. Bitcoin's going down to $7,000, $3,000. Guys, if you follow the history of the Fed, okay, and we really look at of course, they've had a couple maybe good calls in the past, but they are notorious for going back on their word, for pulling out, right? They're raising rates, they're doing their part, we're helping out, we're fixing things, but as soon as what hits the fan, they are going to change their tune. And I actually wanted to play you this clip super quick that we had Natalie Brunell. She was talking to Jeff Booth, and he was actually talking about something that he believes will break in the next 3 months.
Something in the system has to quote unquote break, right? But like you mentioned, we're globalized now. Things are happening in Japan, things are happening in Europe. What is it that you think will quote unquote break in order for them to initiate into inflation, more money printing?
Things are breaking right now. So if you think about Russia essentially saying, my oil is worth more than your printed money, that's breaking. Energy is now being used as a weapon because for a long time U.S. could print energy and everybody else had to pay for energy. Yeah. That is breaking down right now, and commodities are breaking down as well. But this is interconnected. It could be China, it could be Japan, it could be in the U.S. as this rolls over in the U.S. Just imagine. So I think the number is 22% right now of the S&P can't pay the interest on their loans. So they're zombie companies, and that's the old interest rate. And as that rolls over, the credit markets are seized right now. High yield debt is going crazy, and as that rolls over, that means they won't be able to pay anything, and that credit will reset. If that credit resets and all of those employees are gone, or the business goes into bankruptcy and all of those employees are shed into the economy, that's a lot of joblessness.
Right.
And as those people that feedback mechanism, it could just come from the U.S. alone. So I suspect something is going to break in the next 3 months.
So let me know what you guys think. Do you think they'll actually go through with it this time? Or do you think that it's going to get so bad, their egos are going to become too inflated, and they're going to have to start bailing out their friends once again and turning on the money printer? Now, we know it's inevitable, but could it happen sooner than we're even anticipating? And maybe we won't even go into that full-on recession, even though I do believe we're kind of already starting to be in one right now, or at least a type of stagflation. But that's why I'm saying they might just hop on the money printer and get it going again. Now, Anthony Scaramucci, you guys might be familiar with him from Skybridge. So he says, buddies of mine have very large they have very large institutions that he says, unfortunately for right now, have to remain nameless due to confidentiality, but they are getting ready to pounce on a Bitcoin spot ETF. Now, we know we've been talking about this. It is only a matter of time until we finally get one in the US. In fact, according to a NASDAQ survey, 72% of financial advisors polls, they indicated that they would be more likely to invest in crypto if they did have that spot Bitcoin ETF product available. Although the SEC has rejected or delayed Bitcoin spot ETFs over the year, Scaramucci believes that this could all change very soon given the saturation and the maturity of the market. In addition to a potential Bitcoin spot ETF approval, Scaramucci also points to Fidelity's recent announcement that it will allow clients to gain Bitcoin exposure through their 401ks. He says Fidelity is about to do for Bitcoin what it did for mutual fund and the US equity markets when the 401k programs came into the existence in the 1980s. The under ownership of stocks born from the Great Depression still lived in the 1980s, and Fidelity pushed that into people's accounts successfully for them and successfully for Fidelity. Well, they're about to do that again with Bitcoin. So I know times can seem rough, but for everyone that has been sticking it out, there are going to be some amazing opportunities ahead. And these are the times when you want to be dollar cost averaging, right? And obviously, if you guys are looking to trade, make sure that you do check out the tutorials popping up above and the ones that are going to show up right here in just a minute. But we will be back tomorrow and we are going to see what happens, because we are certainly due for a bounce. And if we can get above those levels, well, then say goodnight, Bears, right? So that's it for me. Thank you for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. Hope you're enjoying your holiday. And if you're not, well, hope you're at least enjoying this video. You're awesome. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.